Hello and welcome to the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Our guest today is Michelle Petties, and she's author of the book Leaving Large, The Stories of Food Addiction. Thank you so much for joining me, Michelle.
I am so delighted to be on the air with you, Stephanie. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's start off by talking about your weight loss journey. You have lost and gained over 700 pounds over the years. Tell us about the beginning of your weight loss journey.
Yeah, so that over the years, that it's 4 decades. Yeah, so I have been in this battle to find a body that I love, a body that I'm comfortable with, a body that I'm happy with. I mean, really, since college. That's how long I have struggled with the yo-yo dieting. I was a yo-yo dieter. I was a food addict, emotional eater, emotional overeater for over 40 years.
Tell me the things that you believe caused you to eat more. Was it a thing of comfort as a child? Was it like with cigarettes? I remember I smoked cigarettes for many years, and it was almost like cigarettes were my friends. They were there for me during the good times and the bad times. Did you have that same association with food?
So, so let me kind of say this. Here's what I learned in writing the book, right? And what I learned was that my problem was that I was eating too much of the wrong things for the wrong reasons, and I was doing it unconsciously. Too much, wrong thing, wrong reasons, unconsciously. And I didn't realize that I was eating in such a manner. And it happened really gradually over the years because I grew up in the country. I grew up in the country. My grandparents were farmers. So I grew up eating fairly healthfully, even though I struggled with my weight with it as a kid. But once I got older and started working in restaurants when I was working through my way through college, my view of food shifted. And as I moved throughout my career in sales, food became entertainment. Going out to eat became an activity. And I started making choices about what I was going to eat, not about what was good for my body, but what tastes good. For years, for decades, the only criteria was what tastes good, what's tasty. And most of the time, tasty food is that stuff that has sugar, is sugar laden, or it's fat. Yeah. So I, I, I just kind of moved away from being conscious. So I spent years of mindless eating, which led to me feeling self-conscious about my body and hiding from my body for so many years.
What did you think about your body in relation to food? How did you feel about your body?
Yeah, so there was a real disconnect. I mean, it's not like I didn't even really understand that, if you eat too much, you'll gain weight. I knew that on some level, but I was just in this what I call this unconscious state. And the change for me happened. The change that was really pivotal for me was when I started thinking about how I wanted to look, how I wanted to feel, and how I wanted to show up in this world. I mean, that's like the broad thing. And making decisions about what I eat every day based on the result that I want to see in my body. I mean, that's where I am now. The thing that was pivotal for me was getting to the place where I could ask myself some hard questions about eating. And the three questions that changed my life. Why am I eating this particular food now? Why this? Why now? The second question is, am I hungry or am I something else? Am I feeling hungry or am I something else? And if this food will not give me the body that I say I want, why am I eating it? And I got to the point where I asked myself those three questions, and I still do now. Every time I put something in my mouth, I go to those three questions because we're in a situation where, for me, I spent years eating for reasons other than hunger. And I spent so many years eating to suppress emotion and express emotion that I didn't even realize what real hunger felt like. And so once I got to that point, then things started to shift.
You know, you can turn on the TV any time of day or night and find some sort of infomercial about some diet that'll help you lose 20 pounds in 20 days type thing.
Hmm.
I remember my sister, she went on a weight loss journey similar to yours, and she finally ended up getting the weight loss surgery. But she was on a journey for like 30 years, from the Dick Gregory Bohemian diet to Slim Fast, Nutrisystem, Weight Watchers, you name it. Why don't those type of diets work? Or why don't diets work?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Those diets do work, right? But here's the fundamental problem is that I had to fundamentally change what food means, how I viewed food. So when you go on a diet, and I did it for 40 years, I'd go on a diet. I had I had had surgery. I haven't had the bariatric surgery, but I've certainly had liposuction. I've been through hypnosis. I've been in clinical trials. I, high protein, low fat. Tried them all, and you do gain the weight. You do gain the weight back because if you don't approach changing your eating habits and change your mind about what food means, then you could be a size 22, get down to a size 14, which I call the black woman skin, and you go right back because you haven't done the mental work to maintain the weight. And the mental work means that what food is? Food is for nutrition and nourishment. Food is to grow the body, is to heal the body, is for cell development. That is the only thing. That is the only thing food does. And if we abuse it, which is what happens if you're overweight or obese, you are abusing food because you're using it for a reason other than nutrition and nourishment and to satisfy hunger. And I did it for 40 years. That's how I know.
Now, of course, you're not a scientist, but what percent would you say is mind? Is there, some say that it's 30% diet, some say that it's a certain percent of exercise. What percent of this is mental,
Okay.
in your view?
In my view, it is 100% mental. And here's the thing: if you change your mind, you can change your body. And when you change your body, you can change your life. You can change how you show up in the world. So and the reason I say that it's 100% mental, I am not denying the fact that you have to work out, right? And not even work out, going to the gym and all that. You have to move. You have to move. The body was made for movement. I mean, you look at little babies. Little babies wake up and they're trying to crawl, they're trying to walk, they're trying to move. They want to move. People that are in I guess retirement homes, people that are confined to the bed. What do they want to do? They want to get up. They want to move. And here we are. We're in this sector where we're not babies. We're not incapacitated, and all we want to do is just sit. The bodies were designed to move, so we have to move, and we also have to make smart choices that support our health. But in order to get that, you have to get your mind in a place where you don't view food as entertainment, where food is not viewed as an activity, why you don't eat to please other people, why we don't use food to show love or to accept love, or use food because we're frustrated, or because we're scared. And I'll give you just a quick example because I still deal with it, but I'm aware of it. It's like yesterday I lost my purse, and I went out to my car to look for it, and I couldn't find it. But there was some candy on the back seat. I didn't put it there. My sweetie put it there. There was some candy on the back seat. And as I was looking for my purse and I couldn't find it, I saw that candy, and my stomach got a little twinge in it. And I looked at the candy and I said, I'm not hungry. What I am is frustrated and angry because I have lost my purse. But in the old days, I would have just reached for that candy. because this thing showed up in my stomach, and because it was there on the seat. Because before I walked out to the car to find my purse, I wasn't hungry. I wasn't hungry. So we just have to. I had to develop this mindfulness about eating and why I'm eating in a in a particular circumstance, and that's what we all have to do, or else we'll just graze or we'll just eat because we feel something and we think it's hunger and it's not.
You know, this subject is very near and dear to me. This show is called the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. This is the media arm of my nonprofit, Sisters for Fitness, and we deal with obesity among primarily African American women. And I'm sure you know this, but 1 in 5 African American women are either morbidly obese or overweight. We suffer from a lot of chronic illnesses, heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, breast cancer,
Yep.
because of obesity. And it's like the fat is killing us. It is
Oh my.
absolutely killing us, young and old. So I want to make a point about some of these health issues. For example, in my mind, I can say all I want. Well, I understand my relationship with food, and this has been an issue with mine. I understand my relationship with food. I understand how I need to eat. I understand the amount of exercise I need to have, but I've always had frustration because I'm insulin resistant. I am a diabetic. And the way my body processes insulin is different from a non-diabetic person. So I have a very easy time putting on weight and a very hard time losing that weight, which is the instance for a whole bunch of African American women who don't even know that they're
Right.
insulin resistant.
Right.
They're blaming themselves because I'm doing all this and I can't lose weight. And it's a medical issue why they can't. So I want to make sure that we factor in that as well. How do you deal with the fact that there are a lot of women who, no matter how much they understand psychologically their issue with food, there's something going on with the body that's
Sure.
causing them to process food in a different way?
Sure. Let me address that. And I would venture to say, Stephanie, that the numbers are even higher. The numbers are even higher. 4 out of 5 African American women are either overweight or obese.
Yes,
And
that's what I was saying.
that is robbing us. That is robbing us of our joy. It is robbing us of our peace, our freedom, confidence. So many things. But your question about it being a medical issue. Sure, that is. I recommend to anybody, go to a doctor. I went to a doctor. Don't do anything without a doctor's supervision. But but the reality is, right? The reality is that there's a portion of the population, a portion of women that does not apply to. That we have these stories in our consciousness that are driving our decisions about food that have nothing to do with hunger. It has everything to do with an emotion. So someone comes to your house. Oh, come on in. Come on in. Can I get you something to eat? Oh yeah. And so you say yes because you don't want to hurt the person's feeling, even though you might have just eaten before you got there. Or you don't want to invite somebody to your house and not have anything to eat because it will seem like you're being inhospitable, right? So or you want, I just saw this commercial. Both of us in media, I just saw this commercial on television last night, and it's people that are sitting around the table, and the announcer is saying this grandmother really loves her grandson, and she puts a plate in front of him, and there's a piece of steak that covers the entire plate, and then the announcer says she really does love him. And so we treat food is our love language, right? Food is our love language. And if somebody said, baby, I made a pecan pie for you, or I know coconut cake is your favorite. Whether you're a diabetic or not, there's something that pulls you that makes you think you have to accept that, right? That you have to accept that and eat it because your favorite aunt made it for you.
But
So
there's also a physical pull as well. Yes, mentally you're pulled
yeah,
into, well, I don't want to make my aunt feel bad. Because my mother would do that too. It's like she would feed you and then she'd tell you how fat you are.
right,
So-
right, 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 right. Or you know what, Stephanie? If you in some cultures on this issue, in some cultures, you go to some place, you go to eat at their place, and you eat, and if you eat everything on your food, they're insulted because they feel like you only came there for the food. In other cultures, if you go someplace and you don't ask for second helpings, it's like, what? Was something wrong with the food? No, it's not good. So, but it is all about the stories that we attach to what food means. And you are, let's say you're struggling, you're trying to get on the plane, you're trying to get on the program, and the program says, just eat until you're full, right? Once you're full, don't eat past your fullness. But let's say you go someplace like the Cheesecake Factory. I'm not hating on Cheesecake Factory, but they serve these giant portions. And if you grew up like I did, where it's like, you know what, you need to clean your plate. If we put food on the plate, people work too hard, food costs money, we don't throw away food in this house, and you've got a story in your head that says, I need to clean my plate. Then you go to the Cheesecake Factory and you can't even do the first thing that the diet said do, which was just eat to your fullness. You're gonna clean that whole plate because you have an old food story that says, I need to clean my plate. So we have to rewrite how we feel these old ideas that we have about food that keep us stuck, and that clean your plate is just one of them, right? So you go someplace and the food is free, right, you go to, and I did it. I'm saying this because I did it. I was going, working, going to receptions and whatnot. Oh, they're gonna have a buffet. Well, I was hungry, and that it was there. You're gonna eat, right? If you go to a brunch and it's all you can eat, mimosas are free flowing, you want to get your money's worth. None of those decisions are based on health. None of those decisions are based on how I want to look, how I want to feel. Is am I really hungry? Is this good for my body? So
What,
that's what I'm talking about.
give me a story, one of the stories from the book that you find most powerful.
All right. I will tell you the story in the book, the one that was pivotal for me. And it's the very first book. It's the very first story. It's the introduction, and it's called Where It Happened, and no, sorry, Where It All Began. And it started. Like I said, I'm from the country. I grew up on the farm, and I was visiting my uncle years ago, before I even thought about being on this journey. And it was a barbecue, and we were having watermelon, and we were all hanging out. And I was like, Billy, do you want some of this watermelon? And he said to me, No, I don't eat watermelon. Now, my uncle's like almost 80 years old. And I'm like, wait a minute, you don't eat watermelon? Who doesn't eat watermelon? It's sweet, it's juicy. What does that mean? You don't eat it. Because he didn't say, I don't like it. He didn't even say, I don't want it. He said, I don't eat it. There was a distinction. So I kept pestering him. And he finally told me that when he was a kid, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, he and some buddies stole a watermelon from the neighbor's garden. And my grandfather found out about it. And my grandfather was two things. My grandfather was a church trustee, and my grandfather was a railroad worker. That is not a good combination. So when my grandfather found out about my uncle stealing the watermelon, he gave my uncle a beating within an inch of his life. And so when my uncle finished with that story, I'm sitting here and I'm kind of stunned. And so I said, Billy, do you think maybe the lesson was supposed to be, thou shalt not steal? And my uncle looked at me dead in my eyes and he said, I don't eat watermelon. And I'm telling you, Stephanie, that story came up for me when I finally made my this last visit to the doctor, when I said, I need some help. This is not working, this yo-yo. I need some help. And she said, I've got a program for you here. I want you to take these shots every day, follow this program, you will not be hungry. And so I followed it. But then I still found myself wanting to eat, but I believed her when she said, you will not be hungry. And that made me start asking hard questions. If I'm not hungry, why am I eating? And then my uncle's story came up, and I said, my uncle's experience around watermelon was so painful, so visceral, so it was just so traumatic that he never ate this food that he clearly loved for 70 years. He never had it again until the day he died, because of the experience, because of the memory, because of the event around that food. And then the light bulb came on. And that's why I wrote the book, because I figured out that the opposite is true. That's where my yo-yo dieting, that's where my overeating, that's where my food addiction came from. That I had memories that were attached to certain foods that were so pleasurable, so wonderful, so comforting, that I wanted to keep reliving them. And I thought it was the food. I thought it was the food that was giving it to me, and it was not the food. It was the people. It was the experience. And I learned to separate the food from the experience. And when I started to separate the food from the experience and the feeling that it evoked, then I found some freedom.
Where are you now, Michelle? Do you ever fall off the wagon? And if you do, how do you get back on?
Yeah, you know what? It's hard to fall off the wagon. And the reason it's hard to fall off the wagon is because I'm not on a wagon. It's like I have fundamentally changed what food means. And the best example I can give you is it's like a baby. Like when a baby is crawling, right? The baby is looking around and they see other people walking, right? And they want to walk. I mean, the idea of walking is something that is appealing to them. They want to do it. They see the freedom, they see the mobility, they see what other people are doing. And they're trying to, and they fall down. And sometimes when they fall down, they laugh, but they get right back up and they try. And then they get their walking thing down, and next thing you know that they're running. Once a baby learns how to walk or run, they don't go back to crawling. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about once you fundamentally change what food means. Since I've done that, I don't feel the need to overeat because I know that's not the purpose of food. I understand it. I don't feel it. Once now that I understand it, when I'm angry, I express my anger. When I'm sad, I express that. When I'm happy, I express that. I don't have to do it with food. Part of the work that I do is like identifying the emotion and saying, instead of eat, I'm angry. Instead of eat, I will do this. I am tired. Instead of eat, I will go to sleep. So we're giving food powers that it does not have. The only problem
Michelle,
that
though, but how
hunger.
has that made you feel about your body? Now that you've lost the weight, you've learned how to keep it off. How do you feel about your body? I know a lot of people who, as we mentioned earlier in the show, you may be a size 12, but when you look in the mirror, you see a size 22. How did that change your idea of how you look, of what you see when you look in the mirror?
Oh man, I mean, I love that question, Stephanie. And I'm gonna do something here. I'm gonna move out of the way. I'm gonna move out of the way, and you're gonna see my closet, right? You're gonna see my closet. It's kind of messy, but the reality, but the reality is, I keep that closet open for a reason. I keep that closet open because I can wear everything in it, and I wear it every day. And when I started on this journey, I was like so many people. I was frustrated and mad every Monday morning because I had five different sizes of clothes and I could only wear three things. And the three things I wore didn't look that great. And the thing that kept me, and it's, at first I thought it was kind of shallow. I just want to wear cuter clothes. But that was the one goal that kept me on this journey, and it keeps me on the journey. The fact that I can look in the mirror and know that I have achieved something that has taken me 40 years to achieve. The pride that I feel is more powerful than anything on a plate. The fact that I know how to do this, and it has fundamentally changed how I feel about food, how I think about food, it is freedom. It is freedom to pass by ice cream shops and not feel compelled to get ice cream. It is freedom to know that I can make some healthy choices that are going to support my body. So yeah, I mean, the journey for me has been one from a place of being self-conscious about my body to a place of loving my body, and not just wanting to take, just take my picture, but I just want to just take my head up, right? Or if we're gonna take pictures, right? I'll stand back, I'll stand behind you. Let me stand here, trying to hide. And so we are meant to live full lives. We're meant to live full lives that we live from head to toe. And if we're just taking pictures from the head up, if we're not looking in the mirror and feeling happy and proud of what we see, we can change that. We can change that, and the joy that is on the other side. I'm telling you, I have been a size 26, a 16, and a 6. A 6 is way better.
In the few minutes we have left, we just have a few minutes left, what would your advice be to young girls who are experiencing what you experienced, who you don't want them to go through a 42-year journey? You want them to know this now so that they can live a full, healthy life. What words would you have to say to them?
Oh man, man. I wrote this book. I wish I'd had this book 20 years ago, right? Um, the one thing that I would say is honor your body. Honor your body, because it is the only one you will ever have. It If you take care of it, it will take care of you. And really to make your choices about what you put in your body and what you want to eat based on how you want to look, how you want to feel, and how you want to show up, because it is all connected. It is it looks separate, but it's not separate. When you're able to stand in your own power and make decisions that support your life on something as simple as eating, making smart choices for you and your health, on that kind of level, then that's a skill that applies to every area of your life. Having power and control over your body gives you power, is the first step to having power and control over the rest of your life.
Now, Michelle, in your press information that you sent me, you said that this is my first book, meaning that there's going to be a second, third, fourth, and fifth. So I'm just going to give people the name of this one now, which is Leaving Large, The Stories of Food Addiction. And like I said, this is not going to be the last book. We've got a couple of more in you.
Oh, no question. No question. No question. Because I would tell you, Stephanie, what's coming out now is the hardback. The hardback's out in December. I'm going to do the softback. That's going to come out in February, and look for the audio book in the spring. So, I mean, we got a whole road coming here.
All right, thank you so much, Michelle Petties, author of the book Leaving Large, The Stories of Food Addiction. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. You've been watching the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. Have a great day.